Peacock's tale. The experiment is inconclusive and the story is not yet over. Inside the laboratory, aside from the shrill alarm looping endlessly, the only sounds are the low hum of operating machinery and the soft tapping of Alba's fingers striking the keyboard. On the screen, a progress bar crawls forward at an agonizing pace, as if racing against time itself. Every second seems unbearably long. Alba's gaze is focused and intent. Even as she speaks to Boy Mastina, her eyes remain locked on the progress bar. Her fingers dance rapidly across the keyboard, as if playing an impassioned piece of music. Suddenly, at this critical moment, a thunderous explosion erupts from outside the door, so loud it drowns out even the blaring alarm. The laboratory walls shudder, as if struck by an earthquake. Alba's hands pause for less than half a second before calmly resuming their work. Unlike last time, Alba did not give Chilobeg a chance to self-destruct. She could not destroy the data in the computer or wipe the hard drives. There is far too much intelligence here that they need, including the true detailed files of Project Eden. Boy Mastina raises her head. She gazes through the laboratory door, through the long corridor beyond and into the distance. Boy Mastina says it calmly, as if stating something utterly trivial. She rocks the bolt and grips a high polymer vibrating blade stripped from a marionette doll. Alba does not turn around, but she feels the faint movement of air behind her. Soundlessly, Boy Mastina's figure vanishes from the laboratory. In the corridor, dust and smoke slowly disperse, revealing a graceful silhouette. Igla calmly strides through the wreckage left by the explosion, as though out for a leisurely stroll. Her suit remains perfectly pressed, her high heels click crisply against the rubble. Behind her follows a fully armed elite unit. Igla comes to a halt, lightly straightening her cuff. Her gaze settles ahead, on Boy Mastina, who is standing like an unbreakable bulwark, blocking the way to the lab. Igla's voice is soft as velvet, yet carries undeniable force. She inclines her head slightly, as if greeting an old friend. But after only a few steps, she stops once more. None of the guards behind her are human soldiers. All of them are marionette dolls directly under Igla's command, each personally selected and modified by her, capable of making short work of an ordinary tactical squad. Igla stands at the doorway, her gaze cold and sharp like a blade. And before her, on the road leading to the laboratory, that familiar figure blocks her path once again. This alone is reason enough for her to stop. Boy Mastina does not respond. She gently sets the assault rifle in her hands down against the wall, then retrieves two long blades from her waist, gripping one in each hand. After their previous clash, Both she and Igla know full well that conventional firearms are meaningless against tactical dolls of their caliber. Igla watches Boy Mastina's movements, her lips curling into a smile.
その武器。なるほど。確かにそうですね。
She lifts a hand lightly, signaling the unit behind her to halt.
手出し無用です。
Igla steps forward, her movements fluid and elegant, like a ballerina taking center stage. Her right hand brushes the slender rapier at her waist. Her left draws the silver and gold pistol, only to return it to its holster a moment later.
私たちの対話に重火器は無粋。
She holsters the pistol and calmly draws the rapier from her waist. Under the lights, the blade gleams with a cold luster.
ようやく全体像を把握できました。
Her voice remains gentle, yet carries a peculiar note of admiration.
アルバさんの作戦には驚かされました。まさか私に捕まるのも計画のうちだったとは。結果的に彼女を機密に触れさせてしまった。アルバさんがデータを盗む間、あなたはそれを援護する。
Igla lightly flicks her rapier, tracing a graceful arc through the air.
その大胆さ、驚嘆に値します。反逆正体は確かにその名にたがわぬ精鋭ぞろい。アルバさんには後ほど謝罪させていただきます。
Boy Mastina remains silent. She lowers her center of gravity slightly and shifts into an optimal combat stance. Her wolf eye is running at high speed, analyzing Igla's every movement and possible lines of attack.
その沈黙、賛同と捉えてもよろしいですか？私たちは敵対する定めにありますが、あなたやアルバさんには敬意を表したいと思います。
Igla's tone is earnest, yet a dangerous glint flashes in her eyes.
しかし、職務は全うせねばなりません。あなた方を見逃すわけにはいきません。お嬢様やジラードグループの未来、そして楽園計画は何より優先されます。
She raises her rapier and points it at Boy Mastina menacingly.
データのダウンロード、あとどれくらいかかりそうですか？5分？それとも10分？
Igla studies Boy Mastina's reaction closely, though Boy Mastina remains utterly stoic and unresponsive.
なるほど。急がなければならないようですね。
She steps forward, the sound of her high heels striking the floor crisp and clear.
ボイマスティナさん、無礼をお許しください。そろそろ対話を切り上げさせていただきます。
無駄話が多い。
Boy Mastina finally speaks, her comment brief and blunt. Igla lets out a soft chuckle. The warmth in her eyes vanishes, replaced by icy focus.
では、言葉ではなく行動で示しましょう。
She bends her knees and assumes the on-guard position in fencing.
アルバさんを全力で阻止させていただきます。
Yeah, whatever you say, Igla. But honestly, you're kinda on the wrong side of the war. Go solo, Alba. You'll be fine.
Tactical mode 起動。目標沈黙。
Wait, this mission is actually eliminate all, not just the boss, Oh, the heroic mode will be interesting. Okay. That's cool.
脅威を排除する。任務了解。攻撃開始。リミッター解除。最大火力。
The clash of metal on metal echoes through the empty corridor like a piece of meticulously composed music. Every thrust of Igla's blade is graceful and dazzling, as though she is dancing a waltz rather than fighting for her life. Her rapier traces perfect arcs through the air. Though her movements are filled with flourishes, each strike is measured to the millimeter, leaving no opening at all. Boymastina answers with steady, precise blocks. The twin blades in her hands become extensions of her body, every motion strip of excess just like her personality. The battle between two top-tier tactical dolls has long surpassed the bounds of ordinary combat, resembling an intense performance instead.
あなたの戦い方には目を見張るものがあります。
Igla's voice remains mild and velvety, yet every word carries a razor-sharp killing intent. She speaks even as she threads her attack through nearly impossible angles, the rapier seeming almost alive as it hunts for the tiniest gap in Boymastina's defense.
花はありませんが、実用的で無駄がない。刃を交えて、あなたへの敬意がより深まりました。
Her high heels strike the floor in an elegant rhythm, each step part of a dance, each step carrying lethal threat. Boymastina does not respond. All of her attention is focused on the fight. Her body is already covered in wounds. Her combat suit is slashed open in several places, exposing synthetic components beneath in the seep of biomimetic blood. Even so, her movements remain precise and efficient, without the slightest hesitation or retreat.
戦闘中の雑談はお好みではないと。個人的にはもう少し反逆正体について知りたいところです。
No sooner does Igla finish speaking than she abruptly accelerates her assault. The rapier leaps after images in the air, every strike viciously angled at points that are hardest for Boymastina to defend. At the same time, the few remaining marionette dolls behind her join the fray, attempting to break through Boymastina's defenses from the flanks. Boymastina's wolf eye flashes. In the next instant, she twists her body at an almost impossible angle, narrowly evading Igla's deadliest thrust. Simultaneously, her long blade sweeps sideways, cleaving a charging marionette doll cleanly in half.
見事な反射速度。
Igla inclines her head slightly in genuine admiration.
ですが、こちら側が有利です。あなたの世界はアルバさんがダウンロードを完了するまで持ちません。
As if to validate her words, the long blade in Boymastina's left hand emits an ominous sound of metal fatigue during the next block. With a sharp crack, the blade snaps in two. The broken edge spins away and embeds itself deep into the wall. Boymastina glances expressionlessly at the broken weapon in her hand, then casually discards it and grips the remaining blade with both hands. Her stance grows slightly constrained, but her gaze remains as firm as ever, without the slightest hint of retreat.
武器の消耗はそのまま形勢を表します。
Igla twirls her blade in a flourish, its cold sheen flashing beneath the lights. Her posture is unhurried, as though she holds complete control over the battle.
あなたにも責務はあると思いますが、引き際は肝心ですよ。
残りはお前だけだ。
Boymastina answers calmly. Her gaze sweeps down the corridor. The marionette doll unit under Igla's command has been almost entirely annihilated, leaving only a few that are barely able to move.
戦績の自慢です。
Igla smiles faintly, her eyes sharpening further.
ですが、ダミーを倒しただけで有頂天になってもらっては困ります。 あなたを倒しアルバさんの元へ向かいます。そしてあなたにはデータベースの一部になっていただきましょう。
Boy Mastina eyes Igla.
確かにお前は強い。私のようにな。
Igla quirks an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing her eyes.
これはまた独特な自己評価軸ですね。
ショーが私を作った時、私より強い人形はいなかった。お前の性格は最悪だが、私も同じだ。
Hold on. When Dr. Shaw first created me, there was no doll in the world stronger than me. Does she acknowledge Amaris as another stronger doll than her? Who knows? Boy Mastina's words are calm and definitive, not boastful. She's merely stating facts.
面白い。私たちが似ているとでも。
A trace of wariness flashes in Igla's eyes as she subtly adjusts her stance, preparing for the next exchange.
いや、忠告だ。
Boy Mastina lifts a hand to her head and rolls her neck.
最強の人形という肩書きを外した自分に何が残るのか。
Before she gets to the end of the sentence, Boy Mastina suddenly drops low to evade Igla's thrust at an unbelievable angle. The cold glint of the rapier skims just above her head, severing a few strands of hair.
考えるんだな。
ご忠告感謝します。ですが、的外れと言わざるを得ません。
Igla's voice remains calm, but an icy edge creeps into her tone. Her movements suddenly accelerate, the rapier transforming into a curtain of silver light that assaults Boy Mastina from every direction. And the difference between them is Dr. Shaw's creations are made without relic technology. True. True. That is exactly true, Baltor. That is true.
私の存在意義は強さではなく、お嬢様への忠誠です。あなたには理解できないと思いますが。
Boy Mastina strains to block the relentless barrage. Fine cracks spread along her remaining blade. Her movements begin to slow slightly, yet her eyes remain keen as ever. At that moment, a burst of precise gunfire rings out from the far end of the corridor. The bullets travel along nearly impossible trajectories through the complex environment, aimed straight at Igla's vitals. Igla reacts instantly. Her rapier arcs flawlessly through the air, knocking the bullets aside with ringing clangs, except for one. A single round pierces her shoulder, punching a hole through her pristine suit. Igla's movement falters for an instant. Disbelief flashes across her eyes before hardening into icy fury.
不快なまでに的確な射撃ですね。ボイマスティナ、避けて！
Alba's voice rings out from the end of the corridor, clear and resolute. She stands at a perfect firing position, posture steady, muzzle trained directly on Igla. Without the slightest hesitation, Boy Mastina turns and sprints down the corridor at extraordinary speed.
させません。
Igla is about to give chase when she notices Alba's muzzle dip slightly, revealing several small devices on the ground, blinking with red light.
今だ！
A chain of explosions erupt, instantly turning the corridor into an inferno. Smoke, debris, and shattered concrete surge from all sides, engulfing Igla in the ruins.
無粋な。
From within the dust comes Igla's cold, restrained voice. With a thunderous crash, piled up rubble is hurled aside by immense forces, and her figure slowly emerges. Her suit is coated in dust, her flawless hair slightly disheveled, yet her posture remains immaculate, her murderous gaze sharper than ever. However, when the smoke finally clears, Alba and Voimastin are already gone, vanish around the bend of the corridor.
見事なコンビネーションです。
Igla calmly dusts off her suit and straightens her cups. Her movements are unhurried, as though the explosion moments ago was nothing more than a trivial mishap. She touches the communicator at her ear, her voice cold and composed.
総員、限界態勢。目標逃走中。絶対に逃がしてはなりません。施設全体を封鎖してください。
She smooths the wrinkles from her suit, her gaze sharpening like a blade.
お嬢様の夕食まで型をつけます。